Government let these men down, let me down, let everybody down.
Living, missing American POWs were left behind. They damn well were left behind.
Now, suppose this had gotten out to the American people.
Oh, we went back to get Jessica Lynch because America never leaves a man behind.
The staff provided us a memo that thousands were left alive in Korea after the war was over.
And the figure was that 8,000 were not returned.
Do you believe there's sufficient evidence to make a finding that Americans were transferred from Korea to either China or the Soviet Union?
Apparently, yes. It's time for you people to come up here and accept that evidence and begin to move to the next step, which is to find out what happened to these people and where they are.
It's a tremendous shame for any country to think that they left its people behind.
About 1 in 5 of the homeless in the country and in the county of Los Angeles are veterans. And that's really a shame, a national shame, really.
They're being treated like serfs.
War changes people. It's never over for them. It affects them for the rest of their life.
What do you do to these kids that are getting blown up over there and shit right now? And not just them, but their wives and their kids and the people that have to live with that.
They might say, oh, we're here for the veterans, but they've got to say that because that's their job. That's the party line. But will they go the extra yard for the veteran? No.
In the county, which has the largest homeless veteran population in the country, somebody's not doing their job.
It's an incestuous kind of corrupt system over there that if you got rid of all the rats, there wouldn't be anybody left.
There's 399 acres, of which about 15% is used, and the rest of it is underutilized or non-utilized.
All these buildings here, as far as you can see, is government buildings. All these buildings could be used for homeless veterans.
There are many interests that come together and are served by having this land not house homeless veterans, and those interests are powerful ones.
The hierarchy in Brentwood would not like to see, 30,000 homeless people become their neighbors.
Henry Waxman has made many quite wonderful statements about how much he cares about veterans, but what he has done is, in my view, is despicable.
There are those people who will vote in a minute for more military equipment, but not vote for the benefits that our veterans need.
Mr. Waxman, open up these gates.
They had a plan to, in 1989, when I got involved in this, to tear down all these buildings from Wilshire all the way to San Vicente and make it like a grand park.
Sue Young and her dog pack, her dog team, to get them out of here, declaw them, defang them, and make them stop and go away.
We coming with all the bells and whistles, and they're going to be inundated with bullshit from us.
You can't come in. This is a private event. Private event.
In 1888, 300 acres of land in Los Angeles was donated as a home for veterans. More land was added to the grant over time. The veterans' home on this then remote landscape was in large measure responsible for the development of some of America's wealthiest neighborhoods, including Brentwood, Beverly Hills, and Bel Air. Today, over 8,000 homeless veterans live on the streets of Los Angeles and are denied access to the land designated by law as their home.
Tried to fit into society.
Tonight is the homeless count. It's part of a nationwide effort all across America, required by HUD to assess where we are as a country in ending homelessness. We went to the Veterans Administration and we said, look, we understand it's the federal policy to end veteran homelessness in 5 years. We now have the names and the photos of 50 veterans that we identified here in Hollywood. We know where they are. We have relationships with them.
Came home a little bit broken and largely were ignored. We weren't fully prepared to learn nobody cared.
I've been up here in these hills, 10, 12 years, okay? I live up here because I've got my dogs, and I like them to be able to be a human being like we. I mean, they are.
Man's best friend.
Exactly. Lock and load, brother.
Because laying on the sidewalk is nothing nice. You know, so that's how that goes.
Oh, I was young. I was all for my country. I felt good. I felt good, but I didn't want me and my brother both to be in the same situation. He was in the Marines too. I didn't want both of us to get killed.
I can adapt to about anything. So I really didn't have a hard time out here. But I can't sleep on the sidewalk like I see some of these people do.
I am a Korean conflict veteran of the United States Air Force. My house burned down and my husband passed, and I lost the home I'd lived in for over 40 years.
I was in high school, I was at ROTC, and I liked ROTC, and plus I have family members that was in the military, so I wanted to do that right after high school.
And I was with the VA 15 years. I was honored many times as a VA employee. The homeless thing, it's not an issue the VA feels they're supposed to get involved with. They're antiquated and their old system goes back to post-World War I, the 30s and 40s, World War II. To do outreach and go out there or to consider a veteran that's not going to come knock on the door and get help, it's never been a part of their system, and they never changed it.
There's been no change in how we deal with mental illness and how we deal with the homeless veterans. And frankly, they have been completely let down.
There's an old saying that my commanding officers used to say, if you're standing still, you're backing up. And the VA's been standing still for 50, 60 years. And you can imagine how far they've backed up.
It's hard to go by there and then see some of the soldiers that are sleeping outside right next to the property.
And my anger came from how many of my comrades that served their country died before they got any help, and how many of their families suffered because of it.
And they need to be able to be seen in a lot quicker manner. I think you'd save a lot more lives.
Veterans that are coming out are very apprehensive going to the VA. First, they have heard stories that they're not working fast enough, taking an average of 6 to 7, maybe 9 months to get benefits.
Why? Why does it take so long? Well, it's filling out papers. I'm getting frustrated right now.
I was pulled out the field in 1971 with having combat neurosis. I didn't get compensated until September of 2010.
They're understaffed. They don't have enough experienced personnel down there that can tackle the problems that the present veteran is going through regarding his PTSD, his traumatic brain injury.
They need to really address the mental problem, and that's the majority of the care.
Because we used to have a counseling session, you know what I mean? They used to have group therapy. They have it some up here, but not like they used to. When the lady got through talking to me, went to them groups, you walk away, you know what I mean? Feeling good. You take the medicine, Jesus Christ. I mean, it don't do nothing but make you stupid.
They had me on 5 different drugs at the same time, you know, and it just made me nuts. I mean, I was not rational, and I knew it, so I just threw them all away.
That's cholesterol. This is a mood pill. That guide pill. That's my morning mood pill. Blood pressure and heart pill. This is my diabetic. That's all I'm gonna take. I ain't gonna take none of the psych meds. No psych meds tonight. No.
Went over the cuckoo's nest. Enough said.
You have to go through what I went through or be a veteran that's been in a war to really understand veterans. And we have management that have no idea of what it is to be a veteran.
There is no veterans in leadership. Then you go down, and fewer of them below that are veterans.
Whenever I'm at the VA, the few times I see the VA police doing anything, it's to police veterans walking on the campus. It's not a welcoming place for veterans.
I went in the back, so they have a trash can back there, and they got some plastics out of it. So I parked my basket and laid down on the grass and fell asleep. The police came, VA police came and told me I was loitering, and I couldn't do that on VA grounds, veteran or no veteran. I couldn't be on the VA grounds, I had to get off. But he said, first you're gonna give me a ticket. And that's what he did. He told me I was taking government property. Told me I was taking government property out of trash cans.
That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Left home for Vietnam in our prime. Most of us turned 18 in 69. Some were drafted and some volunteered. Came from all over.
Been working really closely with both these clients for 4 months, and we're very hopeful that soon, through the VA or through other resources, we can get them into housing.
Are they looking forward to housing?
Yeah, I think so. Finally. Oh, and they have a dog.
A lot of this is because we chose it, you know? We have a lot more freedom, everything else up here than we would anywhere else.
Oh, so you guys got the best view in LA right here.
I mean, I'm a Vietnam vet, so we thought. I mean, we had our training, we did it. And we've been able to, in our way, protect these younger folks out here and so forth. As an Army vet, that's the way you learn to live. They call me Godfather. And that was given to me by the youngsters here 15 years ago. It's been a process. It's been going on for about 2 years. So I got to know these folks from Pat. And they're good people. I mean, here about 3 years ago, they were wanting help to set up an outreach program. So I was doing some preliminary work trying to help them, and they got interested in myself and our cause. And they've been trying for the past 2 years to persuade us to accept their help, to come in out of the cold. The only problem is, I have my dog, and there's no way I would ever put him in a kennel or anything. I mean, that's my kid. He's grown up out here for the last 10 years. So it's going to be rough for him as well as for us to move back indoors. But it had to be the three of us. I mean, we're a family, we're a unit. I mean, he's either got point or he's got my back. But now, hell, I'm 60 now, or I will be this year. Bach's only 2 years younger than I am. And winters are getting colder. Body's starting to break down a bit. You know, it's time for us, I guess, to come in out of the cold.
See you, Capone.
Take care.
I'm a World War II veteran.
I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1950, spent a year in Korea.
I am the president of Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 446 in Pasadena.
I am a Vietnam veteran. I served 101st Airborne as a first lieutenant.
I'm out here in support of protecting the West LA VA property.
Well, the land was a gift, and it was meant to be there for disabled veterans forever, in perpetuity.
They deeded their land here to the veterans as a home for the veterans to get well after war.
And yet it's not being protected by the VA administration and the politicians that they're aligned with.
This is a difficult task. Standing out here 3 hours every Sunday is an arduous task, and it takes a lot out of you. But you cannot forget, and that's why I'm doing it.
The history of Southern California in the late 19th century, when the Soldiers' Home was created, is one about, I would say, boosterism, trying to lure people to Southern California for different reasons.
And in 1887, the National Home for Disabled Volunteer Soldiers and Sailors, it was a U.S. corporation, wanted to locate a site west of the Rocky Mountains.
There was big competition in California. Every city, every town wanted to host the Veterans Home for all kinds of reasons. Certainly patriotism, but also certainly the benefit that the Veterans Home would bring to a location. The benefit of a boost in population and a boost in local income from all of the government appropriations that would be used to build and maintain the home.
First of all, it was just barren land. There was nothing developed there. It was quite a ways out of town, out of Santa Monica.
California wants more people in the 1880s, and it's advertising itself as the place for health and wealth.
When they talk about the possibility of the VA coming to LA, the LA Times does a huge promotion of it, saying, as residents, you all should promote the VA to your congressman, to people you know, write letters.
So they put the advertisement out, and our family, along with the Jones family, submitted their proposal of a donation of 300 acres to the corporation for the erection of a permanent national home.
What happens in 1888 is that an agreement is made between the federal government and the givers of the land gift, that the land will be gifted for the location of a soldier's home in perpetuity. It's a permanent use that has to be applied to this land. It can't be used for anything else, is what the givers of the gift are saying. We will give you this land for the soldier's home as long as you promise us that you're going to use this for soldiers forever.
Probably the most significant change was the transfer from the National Home to when the VA was created in 1929. And it seemed to start going down when it turned into the Veterans Administration.
And the soldiers who had been so desirable in the 1880s and had been so instrumental in leveraging land value through the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century became undesirable.
They didn't replace buildings. The hospital wasn't replaced until 1970. A majority of the buildings that you see there now were built in the early 1900s.
And you see this increasing incremental removal of respect for the home and its veterans, and increasing incremental moves to take the land away from the veterans and use it for the benefit of the wealthy people who live around here.
Half of us are paralyzed in blue.
My name is George Billingsley, and I was in the U.S. United States Marine Corps. When I went to reconnaissance, they train you to kill and survive in any situation. Kill with your hands, a toothpick, anything you get your hands on, you can kill a man with. And how to survive, how to sneak around behind enemy lines and stuff. Oh man, I was a troublemaker. I was a badass. I stayed in trouble, in and out of jail, always into something. I couldn't adjust. They didn't have no adjustment period. Just let me go. So I came out. I thought I was a badass. I stayed in trouble with the police. I stayed in trouble for about 10, 15 years till I got tired of going to jail and prison.
Hoping all those promises come true. Rest are tangled up in red. Fear in the future ahead. There's a lot of talk, not much walk. No one's listening. We can't all be right, still we fight. The gap is
by the time I get 2 or 3 blocks, the police is right there watching me, following me, then stopping me, running a check, and wondering what am I doing in the area and stuff like this. And am I going in the blue bins that belong to the city, getting the stuff out? I said, well, no, sir. I said, if I restock, I'll go into the dumpsters because nobody can say nothing. So they said, okay, don't let us catch you going through them blue bins. And I told them, I said, well, I got a Starbucks card. I'm a member. I got a gold card with my name on and everything. I said, and I got money on my card. This is close to Starbucks. I go there and drink coffee all day. They said, well, just stay out of trouble. We don't want to get no more calls on you. And they fill out a little card on me every time, a fuel report card or something, showing that they talk to me in the area and counsel me and stuff. I really don't know. I think Brentwood might have something to do with it because they got money and I guess money talks. They had been sitting there about 3 or 4 days. She said, you're an ungodly sight on these streets. You ought to move out of here. And she called the police. And so 2 sheriff cars came and told me I had to move my stuff off of San Vicente. I couldn't camp out on San Vicente even though it's a public street. I couldn't be on San Vicente.
These suits who have no shame, waging war like it's a video game, using the children of the slaves.
And I asked him, well, how was life in the VA? He said it sucks. He don't like the VA. And he works there, you know. And I don't want to VA bash, but that was part of Shinseki's thing when Obama appointed him in office. That this is the guy that's going to straighten out the mess. I mean, this is the guy that was going to expedite the claims. This is the guy that was going to clean up all of the bureaucracy, all of the riffraff, the politics, and he's more political than all of them.
One gets the feeling, as a veteran on the property here, that the staff and the administration look upon veterans almost by definition as damaged goods.
See, I could go to the VA right now and get in a program, but I have to admit that I got some kind of substance abuse problem, and I don't. So why should I have to lied to get a housing, through the people that I serve my country with, and that don't sound right to me.
You have to be mentally ill or alcoholic or a drug addict or a combination of the above.
You can get angry all you
What
want,
can you
but who
do?
you gonna complain to, and who's gonna listen?
Right. If you're simply broke, unemployed, and homeless, there's nothing for you here.
It's narrowed its focus so considerably from the wider focus of the Victorian home, with the multiple and faceted needs of an individual human being. Their needs for a home, their need for intellectual stimulation, for entertainment, for relationships, spiritual needs.
They don't have the sensitivity. They might say, oh, we're here for the veterans, but they've got to say that because that's their job. That's the party line. But will they go the extra yard for the veteran? No. No. Would they get in a van? Would the director of the hospital get in a van, VA van, with an outreach worker or two, and go downtown and try to gaffle up some homeless veterans? No. And I'm not saying downtown LA. I'm saying downtown Santa Monica. That way she's safe. No.
If you have been to Iraq and if you've been to Afghanistan, or for that matter, another war, and you lost a limb, you're seen right away.
It's okay to deal with some guy that's missing his legs. Well, his wounds is obvious. God bless him. But you deal with somebody who's seen too much. War changes people. They're in denial. They think we can just send people off to the military, and when they go and serve, that when they come back, it's over. It's never over for them. Some adjust better than others, but some don't. A percentage of them don't readjust. It affects them for the rest of their life. They've been in the war business for years, and they still don't have it right.
I think a majority of them are really wanting to help the people, but the policies are what they are. And I see the frustration even when I meet with them. They're frustrated too.
I have no doubt there's well-intentioned healthcare providers working at the VA who are giving it their all to help people who need it. I have no doubt of that.
Some of the nurses, especially the Filipino nurses, are just perfect. I mean, they're splendid, and I wouldn't want the decadence over there to rub off on them.
Let me tell you about these employees, these housekeepers, these food service workers, these engineering people, these LVNs, these nursing assistants, these doctors. You know what I mean? I'll put them up against anybody. It's just the people that they work for. They just get thrown under the bus by the leadership. And half of them, if you walk around on this ground, you see half of them are scared to death. When you're under pressure like that, they can't perform. And they don't get it. They think handling this thing with an iron-clad whip is going to make it okay.
I don't trust the VA. Somebody said today that the VA would be perfectly happy if about half their caseload died, you know?
Because they don't want to pay. And they figure if they wait long enough, then the veterans will have died out.
They know very well that, I'm not going to live to be an old man, and that's perfectly okay with them, you know?
Happy holidays. Thank all the vets for being of service and keeping our country safe. We're here for you, and we thank you and love you.
The time has come. Gotta keep the rivers flowing. Gotta keep the four winds blowing. Start the resurrection of the valleys and the streams. Gotta keep the forests growing. Keep the farms and towns going. Gotta make a change right now. So much work to be done.
served 1970 to 1977.
Are you getting service here at the VA?
Yes, I am.
How's that?
Beautiful. I'm getting my VA pension and disability.
That's good.
And they're going to operate on me my 2 hips. I need 2 hip replacements.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
And, how long have you been at the VA?
About 10 years. Yeah. So they've been doing it very good. They've been serving me. They done made me feel comfortable, made me feel proud to be American. Yes. I'm in a shelter. Yes.
Where is that?
I'm in the New Image shelter.
If there was room available here at the VA property, would you?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. But they don't have any room available.
There's no rooms available here.
No, and they won't operate on me because I don't have a substantial place to stay.
You need to have a stable place to stay before they can operate on you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So until then, I'm stuck at the shelter.
When do you hope that'll be?
I don't know. I hope so. I've been in this chair for almost good 10 years.
How long have you actually been waiting for surgery?
8 years for operation.
A little care and understanding for the children and the human race.
So as soon as you find a stable home, you can...
Yeah, they can operate on me.
We gotta work on that.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I live here. There is a home here called Naomi House, run by the Salvation Army, which houses female veterans who are homeless. And these services that they give are very good. They do take the women off the street, give them a clean, safe environment to live in.
How many women are living there?
15 women. It is a very great need for it because we have places and buildings that could be renovated to put all female veterans and a lot of the male veterans, and we even have families and children with mothers and fathers that are living in the street that are veterans there.
In the war, I am a soldier, but I've never fought like this before. For that space in
nobody would hire me. I would think veterans get priority from McDonald's to retail. I tried everything. When I went to interview at Office Depot, at least the guy was honest. He said he's not willing to hire veterans that were deployed. He didn't want to take any chances. I went from place to place. First I was just living in a hotel room. It was me, my brother, and my mom. Around June, I went to Long Beach, U.S. Vets. It was like a prison. The women were like ex-convicts, and some of them weren't even vets. When I finally told one of the doctors what was going on, then it told me that they have some buildings on this site that I would be better off, which I was, and that's why I came to the Naomi's house.
How was that?
That's good. I've been seeing her for 4 years, and she's been helpful. But I know, like, Iraq vets, Afghanistan vets, they turn to substance abuse. I guess that was their healing. I don't think they go to the VA because I don't see that much Iraq, Afghanistan vets. All of them, usually when I go to the VA, it's like old central, like everybody's old. Yeah, because how many people could say they served? Not too many.
You got no regrets?
No.
What's happening is that the VA entered into a deal with something that calls itself the Veterans Park Conservancy, which is not a veterans organization. It's made basically of extremely wealthy, affluent residents of Brentwood, which are next door to the property, who were given a 10-year lease of 16 acres for the purpose of establishing what they advertised in their press release as a park that would benefit the veterans and, quote, the entire community. That was not the purpose of the donation of the land. It was to be solely for providing care to veterans.
And their whole agenda is to look like a veteran service group, but they're really a front for the Brentwooders Homeowners Association and the other homeowners associations that surround that property. They don't want no veterans out there.
Well, what they're doing is they're trying to prevent the VA property from being developed in a way that would negatively impact the environment in which they live, you know, and which they're entitled to do. The VA, on the other hand, I can blame, because that's not the VA's goal. The VA's goal is to serve as many veterans as they can. Both groups want to prevent the land from being sold off to developers for office buildings. That's fine, you know. But the VA also should be in the business of trying to develop the property to serve as many veterans as they can. And the Veterans Park Conservancy may not want to see that happen. They may not want to be bumping into damaged goods veterans, rubbing shoulders with them at the dry cleaners on San Vicente Boulevard or sitting next to them in the Starbucks coffee shop there. They may want to keep the population of veterans here at the VA down. But that's not the VA's job. The VA's job is to increase the population as much as they can within the context of the resources that they have.
When I heard about it, I was angry. I'm hanging out of my car. You know, you're gonna do what? You're gonna build a park on a base that is really needed by the veterans who live here and the ones who want to live here. Not a public park where they can walk their dogs.
The Brentwood Homeowners Association, there's a person associated with it named Sue Young. LA Times has her on record saying, we know there's a homeless problem with veterans, but the VA in West LA is not the place to solve it. She has said that. It's crazy. Where do we solve it then?
It has to be the answer. Where else are they going to go? If it was in Bakersfield or Riverside, nobody would care.
Hello, man.
Hey, how you doing?
Comrades?
They just kicked us out of there.
Huh?
They just kicked us out of there.
Why?
We're invited only.
They're the donors that paid a lot of money, and it's for veterans, but we're not welcome. And if we didn't leave, she would call the
But
police.
I'm one of the greatest.
No. Don't argue with me. Don't take your case to me.
Go argue with her.
That's the lady.
Go argue with her.
Oh, I gotta face her, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been put out of better places than that, even the White House.
How many veterans were over there?
None. It's for veterans? What the hell's going on here? I have a Dory Miller Memorial Foundation. I founded that, and I feed homeless veterans. Hi. Fine, how are you doing? This red carpet?
Yes. Wrong color.
Wrong color today.
You can't come in, this is a private event.
I am who I am. I'm 59, 60 years old. I'm what I am. Like my father said, John, I'm proud of you. And I guess I got a reason to be proud of myself too, because I've tried to be the best I can. I'm a good man.
On this day filled with clouds, flung like stones across the sky, and a sky that was made to kiss the blues goodbye. can't say it enough.
I don't see it as a kind of conspiracy thing that the VA does not want this land to house homeless veterans. I see that there are many interests that come together and are served by having this land not house homeless veterans, and those interests are powerful ones.
But I also know that there's a lot of people who are very comfortable in positions of power who don't necessarily want to change how things work.
I think the fact that you've got as much unused capacity on this property that you have, it certainly appears as though nothing is being done to convert that unused capacity into housing in the county which has the largest homeless veteran population in the country. Somebody's not doing their job.
There's an awful lot of buildings around here, and it seems as though the government would renovate some of these buildings.
I also know that they're surrounded by Brentwood, Beverly Hills, Westwood, and some major corporations that have says over what can be put in places. So the Veterans Administration is dealing with a lot of pressure that it should have never subjected itself to begin with.
One gets the impression that the Public Information Office at the West Los Angeles VA is not in the business of disseminating information to the public, but they're in the business of preventing the dissemination of information to the public.
But there's a reason why. They don't want to talk. Me, I tell them all, I don't have anything to hide. If I say it once, I can say it twice. If they're doing the right thing, they'd be willing to walk out in front of the camera any day, you know what I mean? And they don't. They don't.
Most organizations, and particularly most nonprofit organizations, welcome the media. They want the opportunity to tell the public at large about all the good work that they're doing. But the West LA VA does not. They don't want anybody to know what they are doing, or at least they give that impression.
Especially the calls that we are receiving right now today, that we get from Afghanistan or Iraqi veterans. They are being led down the same road as I believe as the Vietnam veterans went down.
Let me help you. Time to come on home. You know you can.
When you get your housing, give us a call. We should have some furniture, couches, beds, comforters, blankets. Okay, Frank, we'll leave you be. I know you're gonna get some more rest, huh?
Yeah, I'm going back to sleep.
You go back to sleep?
You need a chance to feel good about you. I have a way.
That's another one. Got a good response from, so it's good. We're still out here doing our thing. I mean, what can we do? One person at a time, actually. So I love what I do. I feel that's the fulfillment for me to see that guy smile.
Let me help you. Time to come on home. You know you can.
I ain't going over. Y'all want some water? What changes do you think the VA can make that will enhance or expedite or make the system better regarding processing of claims and not having such a long wait?
I don't think that the federal government's giving the money to the right places, because we got kids that are coming back from war right now. And what do you do to a kid that ain't got a leg when he comes home now? I'd like to see them get paid for the fact that they put their name on the line and said, I will die for this country.
That's right.
But it don't happen. It don't happen. So what do you do?
Come on.
Just, I know it's painful.
I know.
What do you do to these kids that are getting blown up over there and shit right now?
Right.
And not just them, but their wives and their kids and the people that have to live with that. It caused my divorce. It caused my divorce.
What's been going on here at this property is that they're renting it out. You can't get an accounting of what's going on or where the money is, but any and all people who have nothing to do with veterans can use the property, and none of the money seems to be accountable to going back to veterans.
The fact of the matter is, there's 399 acres, of which about 15% is used, and the rest of it is underutilized or non-utilized, other than commercial leases or enhanced leases to allow the government to raise some funds to do what they don't tell us they do with the money.
Legislation was passed, I believe it was 2007, that severely restricts the VA's ability to lease out land for non-veteran related purposes. They attempt to do an end run around this by saying, well, these aren't leases, these are enhanced sharing agreements. But there's an awful lot of them that there's no sharing going on.
We need to find out about all these contracts, where all the money and stuff is going, because if we got as much money coming in as contracts we got, this hospital, GLA, should be in great shape. But I do know you cannot find out anything, okay?
They're in violation of the original deed. The directors, whoever's made up these leases, unless it's to benefit veterans, they're in violation.
Because the land has been effectively given away, leased for long-term leases at very small rents to a variety of non-veteran and commercial organisations, such as Brightburn Energy, which extracts gas from the land here.
I mean, part of it is leased to the city of Los Angeles for a public dog park.
The dog park, you know, we've asked for a copy of the lease on the new dog park lease up there. It used to be $1 a year. We don't know what it is now because we've asked for copies of the leases. We can't get copies of the new leases, so we don't know what agreement was made.
They got farmers market down there every Thursday. You know what I mean? They got car lots over there at 500. They got
a laundry facility is leased to an operation that performs laundry services for Marriott hotels.
But they lease to buses, school buses. I don't know. Then they got the movie people out here, you know what I mean?
Or the Brentwood School, which rents its areas that are its playing fields from here.
The Brentwood School spent a great deal of money on that land when this sharing agreement began. I mean, they installed softball fields, a track, an aquatic center, tennis courts. It's really quite a lovely complex. And I would probably be remiss if I didn't point out, outside of one outdoor basketball court, to my knowledge, there are no athletic facilities at all available to veterans on this property, out of 380 some acres.
I was told point blank by one of the administrators that was their mandate, was to bring in more revenue, which is why they call them enhanced leases, because they're enhancing their revenue. You know, how they're spending it is another story. How they're getting to it is another story. And these are all questions we have that we don't have answers to.
There's an issue of transparency with our tax dollars that I don't understand not happening here.
We have absolutely no transparency as to what happens with that money and where those leases are. We've been asking and asking and asking.
But to give it away to outsiders who do not value you is such a slap in the face to veterans who were forced to serve and who are now maimed.
The Hollywood accounting system at least gives some of the producers and directors some money, and they have to give them at least a lie of trail. We don't even get a lie of trail. We just get stonewalled.
The VA is just a caretaker. The owners of the land is the veterans. Thus, the reason and the need to slowly push them off of Brentwood, close it down, just lease it off. That way they don't have a footprint in anything.
So we have acres and acres that have been chipped away from veteran use.
You know, I flew to Washington. I met with Secretary Principi when he was Secretary of Veterans Affairs. A few weeks later, he came out here and held a meeting with the community. I have a letter in my file stating these enhanced leases will stop, these ancillary leases will be terminated, it will not go forward, and this land will be used for veteran use. Now we have Secretary Shinseki, who doesn't answer phone calls, who doesn't answer emails.
I went in 73, January, and this is boot camp. You only get a training for 11 weeks. You know, being a Negro at that time, or a nigger. Yeah, educated. You've been in a lot of street fights. You know, you're not too educated a little bit. They think you're ignorant, which, you know, and they put you in a slow class. So I went back in boot camp to repeat so I could take the final exam in boot camp, which I did, and I came up with 98%. It was good. 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines. And I was infantry, what they call a grunt, which put me very good, very good. Recruiting deep. What up? All right. All right. That's one of my sister's sons. From the Air Force to the Marines. Well, really, from the Air Force to the Army to the Marines. Okay, and then from there, it was like back and forth from jail. And they didn't see you in the Army, and they test you. They even take photos of you. If you see the syringe inside your skin, you're going to do some years. From Wayside to Chino. From Chino, I went to Tehachapi, from Moscow to Delano, from Delano to Tehachapi to Lancaster. When I got released from there, it was after Christmas, it was going towards New Year's. I'm on the street as a pedestrian, homeless, then they didn't call it homeless. You're either a bum or a tramp or you're a hitchhiker. So I've been homeless from 79 to 2000, 2002, back and forth of corporations, cause free your mind, say so will follow.
Came from all over and swallowed our fear to fight a war we'd later answer for.
The injustice that's going on, and nobody in the establishment seems to be doing anything about it or has any desire to do anything about it. The injustice is the land grab, the great West Los Angeles Veterans Administration land grab that has been going on for over 20 years. And the fact that they do this, all of this, for an age foundation, a non-veteran foundation, on Veterans Administration land grounds, the home of the VA. and they can't put up anything to get the 20,000 homeless veterans on the streets of Los Angeles off of the streets, you got to wonder, why not?
I don't think that people are against being able to have fundraisers to support very excellent programs like AIDS. The issue is this, the giving away of public land. You can't be able to lock gates away from veterans out of a park that could be, you're sitting on 16 acres of land, which could definitely have many, look at this tent area, and if you're pan over there at some point, you'll see the many tents behind us that could be, it wouldn't solve the problem, but it'll make a serious dent in the homeless veteran population here in Los Angeles, especially when you have adequate services and programs right across the street at the Veterans Hospital. This is unconscionable to be leaving veterans out on the street and then criminalizing being homeless and then being veterans by trying to access land that has been deeded to them.
It's been a problem with the VA because they see veterans as adversaries. This flag represents, we are in crisis. The veteran has a crisis on his hands. We need help. We shouldn't have to be fighting politicians and their benefactors to keep veterans' land that was donated for our help.
Mr. Waxman, open up these gates.
Big money, I know what you mean. Blood for love and love for blood. You're so twisted in my veins, it's green. I don't know what I can be. I'm a greedy little girl. I want my rolls, I want my pearls. Take it from the land, take it from the sea. Do what you gotta do, give it to me. Snatch that.
The neighbors, I think, view this as their own personal property, and they want it as something for themselves, not veterans. And perish the thought that you have homeless veterans walking around here or veterans in need walking around in our neighborhoods.
The hierarchy in Brentwood would not like to see, 30,000 homeless people become their neighbors.
This is the most rich area in Los Angeles. But with this issue, it's about eyes on the prize, and here the prize is money and land that's perceived to be empty.
The neighbors like having the VA here because it's green space. It's a lot of trees and a lot of lawns, and it's pretty to look at, and it doesn't generate a great deal of traffic. The neighbors usually rally around to keep the property for veterans' use because they don't want to see a shopping mall or an office building or a condo development or something that would generate a lot more traffic. But some of those neighbors also want to keep the population low and the veterans pretty much isolated on the property.
One of the politicians told us that, and I will not use the person's name, they're not going to be in our backyard. I guarantee you.
They are true NIMBYs, not in my backyard. They do not want any dirty, unkempt, somewhat mentally challenged veterans wandering around in their pristine neighborhoods. They would rather have their little dogs walking on the veterans' property.
I've had that discussion with some of the homeowners groups that are around there, and my answer is, hey, this was here before your neighborhood was there, so you knew it was going to be there.
When I first started doing it, I had a hard time, getting around the idea of, quote unquote, begging for money. But at the same time, it raises people's awareness that there is a problem with veterans in this country. And that is that most vets are totally underappreciated. They can never make up for what they lost when they went to service.
I believe the time has come. Gotta keep the rivers flowing.
But 3 months of the year, every night, we're all here. We're all doing the same thing. This is our bad money, Capone food money. I need to know where Petco is.
I believe the time has come.
Directing traffic. It's not the whole totality. It's all the little things, the little gestures like giving the food we just got to a homeless couple who don't have it. Being a southern gentleman I am, what am I going to do? That's a no-brainer.
John locks and loads, right? Yeah, right. He doesn't fade on people. John says on deck, that's what he means.
Henry Waxman has made many quite wonderful statements about how much he cares about veterans. But what he has done is, in my view, is despicable.
I would love to know what Henry Waxman's position is. I think Henry Waxman has been completely useless in this case.
He has got a bill that says wonderful things. It's going absolutely nowhere, and it never intended to. So many of the people who are receiving these lands seem to have very strong ties with Henry Waxman and what in Los Angeles is known as the West Side Machine.
There are Congress people, for an example, Henry Waxman, that has been in office 35 years or so, and he maintains his election status as a result of catering to these folks here in Brentwood and the other West Side members. They support his campaign because he will work to make sure that there is no development here for homeless veterans, for wounded veterans.
There's an effort to get three of the biggest empty buildings in the VA for housing, for therapeutic housing for vets. I think we're talking there about 300 to 400 veterans could be housed there for that purpose.
And $20 million for one building for 80 beds is not dealing with the problem. It's dealing with the press.
That's not very many veterans, and they're not going to be provided with homes. It's short-term transitional accommodation, I believe. But it looks like something's being done because there's $20 million that are going towards it, and everyone can get behind that. It doesn't really change current circumstances.
Maybe it's a good start, on their part. I'd love to take that $20 million and build temporary housing, until they could get real money and build permanent housing.
It is a drop in the bucket compared to what needs to be done, but it isn't even a drop in the bucket until they actually move in some people. And there's no evidence that any physical progress is being made toward that end.
The VA, under the leadership of Secretary Shinseki, wants to do a lot. They are constrained by what the Congress is going to let them do, but he's committed, and Congressman Waxman represents the area, is committed. Senator Feinstein has been extremely helpful to us to try to get the Veterans Administration sprung loose and liberated to do what they need to do.
When Secretary Shinseki made the announcement in, I believe it was June of 2010, Senator Feinstein's office issued a press release and referred to the fact that Senator Feinstein and Representative Waxman and LA County Supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky were all back in Washington, D.C. in Secretary Shinseki's office for the announcement of this $20 million. But nobody has seen, a hammer lifted, much less fall. We have started what will be a regular monthly feature in the Strawberry Bulletin called the Building 209 Watchdog. And we're going to report every month on what has or hasn't been done to rehab Building 209 for homeless veterans in the preceding month.
status quo has changed. The more it does, the more things stay the same. With some more equal than the rest.
There's several earth people around here that appreciate the earth being cleaned up from these cans and bottles and stuff that don't decompose, they recycle.
Stripped away the trust. We sling some mud, tell some lies. Swear we'll never compromise, but I really do wish you well. I'm reminded when I see your face. We're running in the same.
Well, I just want to make sure you have enough for college and then got to work and try to go to school at the same time. But the main thing I want to do is get my mother a handicap ramp and a wheelchair, because within a year she'll be in a wheelchair. You know, police don't mind walking up and down the boulevard at night. With a bag, you can get stuff. There'll be a lot of stuff out here because they're going to be eating and drinking all the way to about 9, 10 o'clock. These shops start closing up around 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we all just put each other down until we find there's nobody around. Well, I'm getting out of this town, gonna wipe my slate clean. I'm tired of believing in American dream.
So it's just rough on a Vietnam veteran. Now I don't understand it. We did our time and our service, but at that time I guess the attitudes were a little bit different on the fighting man, I guess. Last March, they finally gave us a parade after 40 years. And I didn't even know about it. I didn't hear about it till it was over. Sometimes it don't work though. I get in a depressed mood. I don't want to do nothing, feel like dying, and I commit suicide and I just feel like just laying down sleeping. I don't feel like doing nothing. We need to help. We need to help. But most of the veterans in this area are Vietnam era veterans, and we have trouble fighting that government. I don't know why it is. I mean, every Vietnam vet I know didn't get his benefits right.
Came home a little bit broken, and largely were ignored. We weren't fully prepared to learn. Nobody cared.
All these buildings here, as far as you can see, is government buildings. All these buildings could be used for homeless veterans. And all them homeless veterans out here at night, sleeping in these blankets and under these parks and in alleys and things like that. We got to get them and bring them over here. This is where they belong, right here. This is their home.
You could house an awful lot, a lot more than the 4,000 that were there during the early 1900s.
We have all these so-called patriotic, jingoistic organizations that never, ever care about homeless veterans. And I don't see the Tea Party, the Coffee Party, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, anybody stepping up for homeless veterans. Nobody, and I don't get that.
Veterans groups need to get together because they should be protecting their own. And they should put together a task force to want to go to Washington and lobby to get temporary tenting, to get temporary housing, to get temporary shelter, to get temporary mental health care, to do the things that need to be done in order to get these veterans off the street and back integrated into society again.
The VA is supposed to lose 70% of its staff in the next 5 years. And we've got people coming out the military who are qualified for jobs. They should be going straight into the VA. And that's the kind of people that we should be hiring. People who are, especially in the Veterans Administration.
But ultimately, I think it's time for Secretary Shinseki, to get down to the grassroots and start talking about the real issue that we're dealing with here. And they're not dealing with it. They're not even attempting to deal with it.
You're going to tell me that we can't get somebody, some officer, some general, one-star, one colonel, one bird colonel, who's got a background in healthcare and running hospitals that we can't put as a director of a veterans hospital.
So what we really need here is very simply to get the VA back on its toes again so that it's doing the job it was originally assigned to do.
If I had my way and our family had our way, the whole thing would change and people would be able to be housed there the minute they got out.
I picked them up off of the streets, and I need a place to bring them. And this is one of them places here that there's some vacant buildings just like this one here. I need one of those buildings for the homeless veterans in Los Angeles. That's what I'm dedicating my life, the rest of my life to.
I would love to see us take some of the acreage we have at the VA right now and not wait for $2 billion. And let's get giant tents like they use for the Elizabeth Glazier pediatric AIDS events over there.
So they set up a whole tent camp this last weekend for a jazz concert. They looked perfect for homeless veterans, those camps. Why couldn't they do that for them?
Why can't we build tents, bring cots, bring porta potties? You have a hospital on premise, so it doesn't impact the local hospitals. You have the police on premise, so it doesn't affect LAPD in having to give more services. It's county property, so you have the county fire department that would respond. And you've got secure gates all around the property. You know, it's the perfect place to begin to try and solve the homeless issue.
I think both families would have been very much in favor of anything that would help the people get off the street.
It would be the right thing for them to do for the veterans, at least to show they care.
I'm sure that there must be a way that the federal government can figure out how these veterans who have served their country willingly can transition into permanent housing well-being.
If a tent is all we can afford right now until we can figure out the big issue, then build the damn tents.
I lived in Arizona and New Mexico. I saw bureaucrats do things to American Indians that were legal atrocities. The same thing is happening to veterans in the United States. They're being treated like serfs.
Our government has taught us not to value human life. So if that's the case, you know, maybe we need a veterans group like PETA to go out there and start fighting for veterans and homeless people.
When it comes to veterans benefit, I'm adamant, man. You're not giving a shit. You're not giving me nothing, man. I put my life, my body, my mind in harm's way for this country. I love this country. And you're going to treat veterans right.
It's just really sad that animals are getting better treatment, and it will chase down the block for an animal, but we'll step over a veteran to get to that animal.
They can stand by, because we're coming. And this time we're really coming. We're coming with all the bells and whistles, and they're going to be inundated with bullshit from us.
You know, whatever I can do for my country, whatever I can do for my fellow Americans, I'm in there, and I'm ready for it.
But one thing for sure is, if we come together for the right thing, you're going to know it, and you can't beat us, because we put ourselves in harm's way for this country. We just didn't make a living or make money. We were on the parapet, man. We were the point of the spear, and we bled and gave. Now, we're not going to stand by and let you steal from us. And that's all I got to say.
All I had slipped away, lost between a war and yesterday. We fought and bled for a cause, one on this lonely street. I look inside a house of light. Joy it spills out into the night. I was once one of you.
In June of 2011, the American Civil Liberties Union and others filed a class action lawsuit on behalf of homeless veterans against Eric Shinseki, Secretary of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, and Donna Biter, Director of the VA Greater Los Angeles Healthcare System, for the misuse of the nearly 390 remaining acres of land in West Los Angeles, donated to house service members who need care after wartime.
This once great land ain't gonna be easy, but we can turn